Hi, I'm Joe from Mitchell Cycles. Today we're going to go through a pre-ride check. We're going to be using the Merida 160. This is the 800 model. Let's get to it. All you'll need for your check is a multi-tool with a good range of sizes, an 8mm for any crank bolts, potentially a 5mm ball end for any awkward to reach bolts, for example caliper bolts, a range of Torx keys including a T25 for rotor bolts, and if possible a torque wrench. So we're going to start at the back of the bike. First of all, tyre pressure. Judging by the manufacturer recommendations and the conditions, you want to put in a suitable amount. I choose to run about 25 psi, which is bang on. So you want to do that back up. Give it a squeeze. Right, next, check your wheels type. Changes by manufacturer, but with a quick release, just give it a pull. Sometimes Allen key. Make sure there's no wobble in your wheel, which is fine, and the tension on your spokes. You're looking for them all to make vaguely the same sound. Any dull ones, and you know you've got a loose one. We're about right. Next, your rear mech. Nice and tight. Don't go graunching on anything, don't want to round it off. And your cable pinch bolt. Again, don't go too mad, doesn't need to be round. Want to check that there's no play in your cassette. That's all tight. If it's not tight, you need to take the wheel out and tighten it up with a cassette tool. Next up, rotor bolts. Just checking they're all nipped up. Again, don't go too tight, these are very easy to round out. They're all tight. Now, caliper bolts. So if your brake's rubbing, these will need adjusting, but for the most part, if they're set correctly, just check they're nice and tight. Again, not excessive force, these are often threaded directly into the frame, which you don't want to strip the threads on. Moving up to the middle of the bike, I'm going to start on the cranks, making sure there's no wobble. No wobble, but we're still going to check the bolt. Nice and tight. Next, pedals. Always tightening towards the front of the bike. Remembering that the non-drive is a reverse thread. Again, nice and tight. Next up, if you have a full suspension bike, you want to check for play in your rear end. Get a good grasp and give it a wobble. If you feel any play, you should refer back to your manufacturer's guidelines or go to your local bike shop for them to have a look at. Next up, we're going to check the front of the bike, starting with the headset. Grabbing by the crown and the stem, giving it a good wobble, checking for any play. Again, that seems tight. If there is play in your headset, you need to undo your steerer bolts, put more tension on your top cap, check your stem straight, and tighten up your steering bolts again. Hope recommends 6 to 7 Nm on their stems. Perfect. While you're at it, check the faceplate bolts on your stem. Again, these are 6 to 7 Nm on this particular stem. Going in a cross shape just to disperse the forces evenly. There we go. Next, the controls. You want to check that your clamps are nipped up, tight enough to stop your levers moving, but not so tight that you crush your bars, especially if you're using carbon bars. Check that you have a nice pull on your brake, doesn't feel squidgy, so that's all good. Repeat on the other side. Again, checking that it's tight enough to not move, not crushing the bars. Making sure as well that everything's nice and equally spaced and angles are similar as well. Now we're going to check the front wheel. Like the rear, you want to check that your axle's nice and tight, and there's no wobble in your wheel. Lovely. Now rotor bolts, again, checking that they're nipped up but not too tight that you round them off. spokes. Again, looking, they all sound similar and there's no dull notes. All nice and tight, and the rim straight. Good. Next up, brake caliper. You want to check that your caliper bolts are nice and tight. Again, don't go too mad because you don't want to strip out your forks. Finally, you want to check your front tyre pressure, like the back, judging by the manufacturer's recommendations and the conditions. I run it just below 25 on the front, which is just about right. So that's it. If you're unsure about anything, just refer back to your manufacturer's guidelines or pop into your local shop. Thanks for watching. Time to go ride.